The Renaissance, a time when Europe decided to ditch the Dark Ages grunge for a brighter, more fabulous wardrobe. This wasn't just about fashion, darling. Think art, literature, science, and yes, even philosophy getting a serious makeover. Out went stale dogma. In came humanism, a refreshing cocktail of reason, observation, and good old-fashioned curiosity. Basically, folks started asking, what if things could be different? Talk about a glow-up, right? This new intellectual swagger wasn't just about showing off fancy Greek and Roman ideas they'd rediscovered. It was about using these classics as sassy inspiration to challenge the status quo. Imagine Aristotle in a rap battle with medieval scholars. Intellectual sparks would fly. This era was all about questioning, exploring and pushing boundaries, much to the chagrin of those clinging to old ways. Buckle up, because things were about to get interesting. Enter Niccolo Machiavelli, the ultimate political bad boy of the Renaissance. This Florentine fellow didn't just write about politics, he dissected it with the precision of a Renaissance surgeon. Except instead of a scalpel, he used wit sharp, cynical, and oh so delectable. His masterpiece, The Prince, is the ultimate guidebook for any aspiring ruler who prefers pragmatism over piety. Forget moralizing. Machiavelli was all about realpolitik power, strategy, and a touch of cunning, darling. He famously argued that it's better to be feared than loved, which, let's be honest, is a mood in certain circles even today. Don't get it twisted. Machiavelli wasn't advocating for tyranny, well, not always. His point? To rule effectively in a world full of backstabbing and power grabs, sometimes you got to play the game. Now, let's hop over to the Netherlands and meet Desiderius Erasmus, the Renaissance's resident wit and master of satire. This scholar knew that sometimes the best way to expose hypocrisy and inspire change is to make people laugh, even if it means ruffling a few feathers along the way. His masterpiece, The Praise of Folly, is a satirical tour de force where folly, personified, takes centre stage to poke fun at the absurdities of human behaviour, particularly within the church and academia. Imagine a stand-up comedian dressed as a court jester, roasting everyone from corrupt priests to self-important scholars. Erasmus's humour, though hilarious, had a serious edge. He championed reason, education and individual conscience against blind faith and rigid dogma. He was basically the Renaissance equivalent of a witty Twitter commentator, using humour to spark debate and challenge the status quo. Last but not least, we have Sir Thomas More, a man of contradictions, lawyer, philosopher and author, with a side hustle as Chancellor to King Henry VIII. Talk about a tough gig. More's Utopia is a real trip, a fictional exploration of an ideal society that's both fascinating and a tad bit unsettling. Imagine a land where there's no private property, everyone works gasp, and religious tolerance reigns supreme. Sounds idyllic, right? Well, except for the whole no private property thing and the fact that fashion choices are, shall we say, limited. More's Utopia is a thought experiment, a way to critique the problems of his own society by imagining radical alternatives. It's a book that makes you think, maybe things could be different. But do I really want to give up my Netflix subscription? So, there you have it. Machiavelli, the cunning strategist, Erasmus, the witty satirist, and More, the utopian dreamer. Three very different minds, all united by their audacity to question, to imagine, and to challenge the norms of their time. They were the ultimate Renaissance influencers, shaping the intellectual landscape with their bold ideas and sharp wit. These weren't just stuffy academics scribbling away in ivory towers, they were engaged citizens, using their intellect to grapple with the big questions of their day. Power, morality, social justice, and the meaning of a good life, preferably one with good wine and decent cheese. Their works weren't just dry treatises, they were filled with wit, drama, and a healthy dose of shade thrown at anyone who dared to cling to outdated ideas. And you know what? Their voices still resonate today. We still grapple with the same questions about power, morality, and the kind of society we want to live in. We still debate the role of government, the limits of individual freedom, and the importance of social justice. Machiavelli's realism reminds us that the world can be a messy, complicated place, and sometimes you have to play the game to win. Erasmus's satire encourages us to laugh at absurdity, to question authority, and to embrace critical thinking. And More's utopian vision, though perhaps a tad unrealistic, reminds us that we should never stop imagining a better future. They may have lived centuries ago, but these Renaissance rebels remain surprisingly relevant in our modern world. So the next time you're feeling stuck in a rut, take a page from their book. Challenge the status quo, embrace your inner rebel, and never underestimate the power of a good idea and a well-placed witty remark. Who knows, you might just spark a revolution, or at least a lively dinner party conversation.